Okay, so this is week number 6, and we are still doing this in online mode. I hope I can actually meet you face to face on campus before you graduate. I hope that is that should be realistic. Anyway, so let's get on with today's slides. So today is week 6, and what we are going to talk about is cookies, sessions, and header. So let me grab my laser pointer. So we are going to talk about why we need cookies. We can use the $_cookie variable to store data on the client. Remember, this is on the client. And then you can use the $session array to pass data among web pages. And this part is on the server. Okay, so there's a difference. Cookie is on the client, session is on the server. Okay, I mean the data of the cookie is stored on the client. The data of the session is stored on the server. And because of that, because it's on the server, you can use it to pass the data among different pages. Okay, and you can use the header to redirect the user to another page. Actually, you have done that already when you did your last tutorial. So how does this relate to the individual assignment, the IA? Well, we have seen this already. Okay, in lesson 2 and 3, we use strings and arrays. In lesson 4, we use a database. And then in lesson 5, which is last week, we learned to use functions. Okay, and in particular, we learned about how to define your own functions and how to create and use functions to check date. And today is the last part. Okay, we will talk about that you are the server. Okay, and every day there's a lot of connections from clients to you. Okay, but you don't know which client is which client. Okay, all you know is that you have many connections. Okay, and all of them will be connecting to you using the HTTP protocol, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And now you can see there are at least 3 different clients here: Anna, John, and Peter. And they connect through this HTTP protocol, which is stateless. By stateless, I mean that when Peter connects to your server the first time, it's no different when Peter comes back again and make the same connection. Inside the HTTP protocol, there's no definition to maintain a state. So you don't know whether Peter is coming back or Peter is reaching you for the first time. Okay, but in real world, we need to maintain the state on the server side. Okay, for example, we want to know who the user is he signed in or not? We want to know what he has looked at last time. So in YouTube, you want to make recommendations based on his preferences. Okay, if it's a shopping website, you want to know what is in his shopping cart. Okay, so because HTTP does not provide states information, so we need to solve this problem using other methods. One of the methods is to use cookies. Remember, cookies is only one of the methods, but it's very common. So how cookies are sent and received? Okay, now look at this diagram. On one fine Monday morning, so it's almost like today. So the client reaches the server and say, okay, hang on, this is okay, which means that when the client reaches the server, besides sending the request using GET or POST, actually there's a small file that is sent to the server. Okay. And the server says, okay, no problem, I'll keep the cookie. So the next time when the same client reaches or connects to the server will know, hey, this is the cookie you gave me. Okay, so here's the cookie from Monday. So that's good. So I know. So the server knows he's a returning client. I explained this already, right? Now you may ask, okay, if we know the IP address of a machine of a client, then we can maintain the state on the server. Okay, we don't need cookies, right? We store all the information, all the preferences, the login state of the user on the server using the IP address as the key. Well, in theory, this may work, but in reality, the IP address of a machine can change. Okay, the IP address of your computer is not the real IP address that the server sees. Okay, and it may change every time. Okay, actually, this is a security measure as well. So imagine that if the IP address of an important person, okay, for example, our chief executive, is the same every time, then her machine can be easily hacked. So one of the solutions is to use cookies. A cookie is a small file stored on a client's device, and it's a key value pair. So it's just like an array. There's a key and there's a value. And it is sent to the server as part of the header. Now, what is the header? Now, we know that when the server or when the client reaches the server, it sends the request using get or post, right? But actually, before the get and post, there's actually another piece of information which is called the header, and the cookie is part of the header. Okay, and it is not part of the HTTP protocol. So that's the theory. That's the theory. The one thing you should know about from this slide is that the cookie is small file stored on a client and is sent to the server, and it's a value key pair. Another explanation. So when the browser first visits the website, okay, the user just types in the URL and then it is sent to the server. Now, I'm assuming that this browser is reaching the server for the very first time. So there's no cookies here, nothing, because it's the very, very first time. Okay, and this user is looking at the red shirt, and then he's filling out a form. And so he looks at the red shirt and he fills out a form and then enters the phone number as this number. Now, the server can then use a PHP script and set a cookie, and together with the updated website, and send it back to the browser. Well, actually, if I'm going to redraw this diagram, I'm going to, you know what I should change? This may not be the, to make it perfect, I would do this. I would move the cookie, I would draw this diagram to be in front of the HTML. Okay, so this is the website. Okay, the web page, I should say. This is the web page. This is where they have the HTML tags and so on. The cookie should be sent before that. Okay. So now what the cookie will contain, because the user is looking at the red shirt, so the cookie should one of the keys in the cookie is color and the value is red. Another key is phone and the value is this. Okay. So now the cookie is stored on the client's machine. When the client visits the website again, now this time it is not a brand new connection. This time the client is coming back. So the client will send not just the request, but the cookie. Okay. Now in this diagram, you can see that actually the cookie reaches the server before the URL, and this is what should happen. You cannot send the cookie after you send the URL. Okay. So this time, the web server knows the user's preference. Hey, last time we know that this user was looking at a red shirt, and then we had his phone number. So this time, when we give him or her the web page, we will show the red shirts by default. And then when we ask him for the contact information, we can put down this as the default phone number. Okay. Now it says updated cookies here. Okay, the PHP script on this side can do something else. Okay, maybe new promotions. Okay, it can add something more. Well, if I want to find a simple way to explain cookies, now cookies is a piece of food, right? But if I need to choose one object to represent cookie, I would say it's like a VIP card. So what do you have on a VIP card? Well, you have a number, right? You have a number, and then you have an expiry date. Okay, just like a credit card. So there's a number and there's a expiry date, and sometimes you may have what? A name on it, like John. So that's your VIP card. Okay, so cookies are pieces of data chosen by the web server and sent to the browser. So somewhat like a VIP card. Okay. And the main reason is to maintain a state, like I explained before. Okay. So so this is basically the same thing, equivalent to maintain the state, same at this point. Okay. Think of it as a weird. Now, how to make cookies? Okay, I use the word bake here. Okay, but actually to make cookies, well, it's very easy. You make cookies with this set cookie function inside PHP. So it defines a cookie to be sent along with the rest of the HTTP headers. The cookies must be sent before any output from your script, like I mentioned before. If you use set cookie, you must make calls to the function prior to, which means before anything else, including the HTML and the head tag, okay, as well as any white space. So you cannot send even a space before you do the set cookie. That's very, very important. So once the cookie is set, it can be accessed on the next page node. So next time, this means that the visitor, the client, revisits the same page. You can know what's in the cookie by using the $_cookie array. Now I think all this talking may be a bit confusing. So let's look at some examples. Now this is the syntax of the set cookie. Now among all these fields, which one must be filled in? Okay, when you call the set cookies function, which one is required? Anyone? Look at all these parameters. So which parameter is required? Name, yes, very good. Only name is required. All the others are optional. Okay, very good. So many of you said name. Okay, that's very, very good. Okay, so all you need is a name. However, okay, like in previous examples, if I set the color, okay, if I want to know the color, then the name is color and the value is red. And like cookies, like real cookies, they can expire. Okay, and then you can specify whether this cookie is available to all scripts on the domain. Okay, or if you can specify if the cookie is only available to only some programs on the server. Okay, otherwise you'll be looking at the different programs on the same server. Will be looking at the same cookies and can be confusing. Secure. This part is very important. Why? Because cookies can be seen by, when they're transmitted, they can be seen by other people. Okay, and cookies can contain important information. Okay, like the user's phone number and the user's name. Okay, so this means that whether or not the cookie should be transmitted over a secured HTTPS connection. Okay, so usually you want to set it to true unless it is really trivial, or when the information is not that important, then you can set to false. The default is actually false. Now this is how you set a cookie. Okay, so you give it a name, and this is the value. Now here is the expiration. Here's the expiration. Okay, so it says that it will expire within 60 seconds. Why 60 seconds? Well, if you go back and look at the parameters, so the first parameter is the name, right? The second parameter is the value. The third one is the expiration time. Okay, and expiration time is actually a timestamp. A timestamp. Okay, the timestamp is the number of seconds since 1970. Okay, that the cookies should expire. I'll explain that more later. Okay, so this is the expiration time. Okay, the time function returns the timestamp for the current time, and then you add 60 seconds to it. So this is in terms of seconds. Okay, wow, writing with a mouse is difficult. 60 seconds. Okay, basically 1 minute. Now, so what is the time function? We have seen it in last week. I know that Mr. Alvin Chan explained it to you. I think his explanation was great, but let me quickly recall. Okay, a timestamp. Okay, actually in PHP we use the Unix timestamp. It is a Unix timestamp is the number of seconds since the start of January 1970. Okay, so and you use the time function to get the current timestamp. Okay, so why don't I try a little demonstration here? So if I go to interactive mode, if I echo time, now this is the number of seconds that have passed since 1970. Okay, January 1st, 1970. So if I run it again, it will be 37, 41, 42, 43. The time keeps moving on. Okay, so that's the time stamp. So if you want to obtain the timestamp for next week, for this time, same time next week, which means next Wednesday in the morning, you use this, right? So 7 days, 24 hours in one per day, 60 minutes per hour, 60 seconds per minute. Okay. Now, once you set a cookie, well, actually cookies are stored on the client, and you know what? You can look at the cookies yourself. You can look at the cookies. Now, before we talk about this, let's move quickly to slide number 19. Okay, so let's jump ahead and look at 19. And you can see this is actually a browser page. Okay, when you press the function key F12 on the browser, you will get the development tools. Okay, now this is in Google Chrome. So if you use other browsers, the function keys may be a little bit different and the layout may be a little bit different, but the concept is the same. You can look at the values of the cookies. Now see if I can do a live demonstration here. Now this is Microsoft Edge, okay, or previously Internet Explorer. So let's try to do the same thing. Development tools, open development tools. Now I just press F12, as you can see here, and I say yes, please open it. Now you have the development tools right here, okay, on this side. I have been using Chrome a lot, so I'm not too familiar with this one, but if you click application, I think it's too small for you guys, right? You cannot see very clearly. Now, but that you can see, yeah, okay, yes, much better now. Okay, so I click the application tab, and then under storage, I have this cookie group. So if I click expand it, I can see that I have one cookie here. Okay, actually more than one. Okay, this is from this domain. Yes, this is from this domain. Okay, Moodle, because I'm working in Moodle. Okay, and now you can see that we have many cookies here. Okay, at this stage, we don't need to mine the exact and names and values. So you have the domain, and then you have the path. So this applies to the whole domain, and so on. The thing is, if you right click, you see that you can edit the value. See, you can edit the value. You can actually change it. Now, I'm not saying that you should, right? But you can. Users can change it, and that's very dangerous. That's why cookies may not be the best method to keep track of the user state, but it's very common and it's very easy, but it's not very safe. Okay, so be very careful. And users can delete cookies as well. So not too good. Okay, so this is just so let me close this developer tool, and everything is now back to normal. Let's go back to the slides. The slides. Yes, here the slides. Okay, so I was on slide 19. Yes, so I was doing this demonstration and show you that the user can actually look at and change or even delete the cookies. Now you can change the cookies using a program, or you can delete cookies. So how do you modify a cookie? Well, to modify a cookie, okay, let me play this slide. I've lost the control. Okay, let me try this. Okay, good. So let's go back to slide 15. Okay, I was saying that you can modify a cookie. To modify a cookie, you just set the cookie again. Okay, there's no more modify function, but if you set it again with a different value, you are modifying it. Okay, and if you want to delete it, again, there's no delete cookie function, but you can set it again, but with a time in the past. Okay, so very, very interesting, right? Okay, to modify, you set it again. To delete it, you give it an expiration date in the past. Now, here's an example of how cookies actually work. I've been talking for about half an hour now, so let's take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll continue. Okay, so let's take a break of, let's say, 10 minutes. Okay, now when we come back, besides about the slides, we will talk about the test, and I will talk about the GP, which is the group project as well. Okay, so let's take a break. Let's take 10 minutes. Sorry, my keyboard. 10 minutes break here. Okay. So which means that we'll resume at 9:07. Okay. Hello, welcome back. Okay, sorry for the delay. Let's get on with our lesson. So, actually, let's talk about the group project first, okay? Before we talk about get on with the slides. So the group projects. If you go to the to our website, to the Moodle website, you will see that I have already posted the requirements for the group project. So here it is, group project. And this is the Word file containing the instructions. And so let's look at the instructions. Now this is the group project instructions. Let's focus on page 1. Now the group project is to create a website similar to that of this organization, the Hong Kong Youth Professional Training Association Limited. Okay, and this is the URL. So let's visit this URL. Now this is the web page that I want you to, you may say, to revamp. Okay, there's a word that being used a lot, GP, to revamp, which means to remake or redo a website, okay, or revamp the website of a social enterprise. Okay, what is a social enterprise? Well, this one. Okay. So as you can see, this is a very simple web page. Now you may see that the color scheme may not be too good. Okay, it's rather hard to see the words here. Okay, and the website is rather simple. Okay, this is a slideshow or carousel. You can go back and forth between the different diagrams. It seems that yes, you can click and then you go to different parts. This is some kind of services here. Okay, this is for youth. Okay, actually this is for teenagers and this is for youth. Okay, and this is for the elderly. And for example, there's a web page on dementia. And this is now, as you can see, this is a one-way. This web page is it's one way. It's not too interactive. Okay? And now what I want you to do is instead of just telling people what dementia is. So basically, if you know Chinese, it means it asks you what is dementia. So dementia. Okay, they call it a 認知障礙症. Okay, previously it was called 老人痴呆, which is a very bad name. So now they changed the Chinese name to 認知障礙, but in English it's still dementia. So what you can do is, instead of just duplicating everything here, I suggest you should add a questionnaire about dementia. For example, you can type in the word dementia, and then you can say questionnaire, and then you can find quite many dementia questionnaires. Okay, this is one of them. Do you want to accept cookies? Yes, now I know what cookies are. I can accept the cookies. And this is the background about the questionnaire. Okay. Now you don't have to understand all the background information here. Okay, but you just need to find out the questionnaire. Okay. Well, actually, I leave it up to you to find out the actual questionnaire. I don't know why, but the questionnaire is not shown here. Maybe this is a research, okay, about the results of the questionnaire. Oh yes, that's it. This is a research. This is not the actual questionnaire. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of research. So I leave it up to you to find it out. Okay. So did I click this one? Oh no. Okay, so a toolkit, cognitive assessment toolkit. Now, but this is Alzheimer. Alzheimer is different from dementia. Okay, so oh, this one, self-assessment. I think this is the one that you want. Okay, so looks like it. Now these are the items. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to the group project here. Now the website should have a fully functioning front end and back end. Okay, front end is HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and the back end is, of course, our PHP and database. Okay. Now you can use existing contents. Basically, if you know Chinese, you can just translate it into English. Okay. If you don't know Chinese, it's still okay. You just find a similar website that is for youth and elderly. Okay, some kind of a non-profit, not-for-profit organizations. Okay. Now it's important that you must replace any proper nouns, names, phone numbers, emails, and similar information with fake information. Okay, so let me now how about for those who may not understand Chinese, let me try to find another website. Let's say a youth association. Now this one, Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups. Is it the same one? Youth. Oh, it's not the same one. It's similar. Okay, so the name is very similar. And does it have an English site? Yes, I can choose English. And oh, interesting. Okay, now it's in English. Sorry about that. So that's an urgent notice. As you can see, now you can try to do very similar things. Okay. Now I don't mean that you have to have all the pages here. Okay, and then each one must have its own unique contents. Okay. It may be impossible to do all this. Okay, so what I want you to do is actually listed here should have at least the following web pages. Okay, so these are the names in English, and these are the names from the original website. So this means. So if you don't know Chinese, then you can just ignore this, okay? You can just ignore it if you don't know Chinese at all. Okay, so what you at least want to do is to have a home page and about us. Okay, each of them has one web page, and new services and courses should have 3 web pages, youth services 3, and so on. Okay. So now the basic requirement is that you must provide function for the users to make registration for events. Okay, there should be at least these web pages besides the registration. Okay. And now, if you want to get extra credits, you can do the following: provide some questionnaire or games, provide a gallery of photos and videos, some health-related questionnaires and with explanations, which means that you can ask the user to create, to fill out a questionnaire. And after the user finish the questionnaire, then they get a score, right? And you can provide them explanations at the end based on the score. And you should have members login and registration and user administration. Okay. And then allow for the administrator, they should be able to download a list of members, participation history, list of events, list of games. Now, this may sound like a lot, okay, but now if you stick to the basics, it should not be too difficult. Okay, and if you want to do this, you can use a framework like Laravel, which we will be covering later. Okay, so with Laravel, these things should be easier. Okay, and now to help you to prepare early for the final work, okay, there will be a prototype presentation. Okay, the prototype presentation is just you may say kind of a progress report. Now, what does the now at this point, I want to know if there are any questions. Questions for now? Any questions about the group project at this point? Oh, someone may ask, okay, how many people per? Oh, actually, it's here. Now, this is week 6. So by next week, I want to receive your names. Okay, please send me an email with student names and IDs. And I want to have 4 students per group. Okay, because our class size is not an exact multiple of 4, so I can accept a slightly bigger groups or slightly smaller groups. Okay, you cannot do individual projects. You cannot. It's too much work for you, and then you cannot learn teamwork if you do it alone. Okay. So the name list is next week. The prototype presentation is 3 weeks later. Actually, from now it's 4 weeks. Okay. So you present only 2 minutes per student. And you don't need to show me the actual PHP working. You can, okay, but you don't need to. You just at least show me the sitemap, some screen captures, the database design, okay, and you will send them the soft copy of those to me before the presentation, okay, and actually you send it to me using the submit function, okay, that's just like an assignment. And the formal presentation will be in lesson 13. Okay. So, and then when you submit it, you will do the presentation. You tell me about the website. Each student talks for about 4 minutes. Okay, and then you have to submit a documentation. I'll give you examples later. And then at last, submit a peer evaluation report. The peer evaluation report, which is to evaluate, okay, how well each member has performed. Okay, so now these are the now I can explain more later. Okay, for the documentation, you need to have a user guide, developer guide, and then some kind of video. Okay, I'll give you examples of the user guide and developer guide later. And this is the peer evaluation form. Peer evaluation form, and then so let's say if you have a group of 4 people, okay, so 4 people. You yourself is Chen Tai Man, so you fill in the name here, Chen Taiman, and then the names of 3 other members. Okay, and then you put down the marks. Now in this case, Chen Taiman is very humble. Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, how many people in the group? I just answered that. So sorry about that. So 4 group. Okay. And then this Chen Taiman is being very humble. He gives himself only 80 marks out of 100. Okay, so I expect for a normal group, everyone gets 100 marks. Okay, that means everyone is happy. Everyone contributes about the same effort to the group project, and this is the ideal situation. Now, in some cases, some members may have better skills, okay, or do better leadership, and then he or she is worth more than 100. But for a group of 4, okay, the total should be 400. So in general, if you have 5 members, it should be 500. Okay. I hope everyone will get 100, and I hope most groups should have 4 students. Okay. Now let's go to Moodle again. And you can see that in Moodle, I have already given you some samples. So this is sample presentation of the prototype. So there's a sitemap, some screen captures, and database design, very basic. Okay. So these are just initial ideas. And database design. Okay, so I think I've gone through the requirements very quickly. Okay, and I think you can read the details later. Okay, I don't think I need to go through every line here. So please read it and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what? In Moodle page, in Moodle, let me go back to the Moodle page. Yes, this is the Moodle page, and this is about the group project, right? So, group project. Now, at the top, near the top here, there's a Q&A on individual assignment, and this is a forum. So if you have questions regarding the individual assignment, you can come here and you can raise a question. Okay, you can do this simply by clicking add a new discussion topic. Okay, and then the rest is easy. You just type in the subject and then the message, and then you post to forum. Okay, and you have 30 minutes to edit your post before it becomes final. Okay, so if you have any questions, post it in here so that everyone knows your question. And that's good for you because it's your contribution, it's your class participation. So actually this part is not for you, so let's forget it. Okay. So IA, raise your questions in the forum in Moodle. If the questions are good, this is your participation, and then you can answer the questions there, and which is also your participation. Okay, so either raise a question or answer the questions there. Okay. Oh, about the test, I think next week will be a bit tight in terms of time. So I think I can move it a bit. So I said that there will be tests on lesson 7, which is next week, 8. At these times, okay, but the lesson 7 is only 2%. I think we should stick to this schedule, okay? And each quiz will start on the day of the lesson and due on at midnight of the next day, okay? And then you have only 2 attempts, 2 exams, okay? And you're advised to try to cook first before answering the questions, okay? So there should be plenty of time. The format of the test will be very similar to the quizzes you have been doing all along, like these self quizzes. Okay, so if you have been doing these self quizzes, you should know the format of the test. Okay, well, actually, I'll tell you what, because some questions may be reused. Okay, I will hide those quizzes well when the test is active. Okay, be careful about that. So let's say if there are any questions regarding the group project. We do the live demonstration or presentation, or can we make a video in advance and then play the recording? Besides, do we need to show your faces? Okay, let me answer this the last question first. 5 people, and the answer is that okay, but you have to do more work. For example, more web pages, better contents, etc., etc. Okay. This one about live demonstration. Yes, live presentation plus demonstration is a must. Do you need to show your faces? Showing faces is, I should say, show your face at the beginning and the end of the presentation. Okay, you don't have to show it all the time. For example, now that's like what I do in my seconds. So 10 seconds at the beginning, 10 seconds at the end. Okay, now as you can see, I'm not showing my faces. Okay, all along. I'm showing my faces now. I show my face, only one face. I'm showing my face now, but you don't have to show it all the time. Okay, but I think you should be familiar. You should be skillful. Okay, or becomes you have more experience in using virtual conference software like this. You should know how to show your face, how to stop it, and how to use a virtual background. As you can see, my hand is disappearing depending on how far or how near it is to the camera. Okay, so in the back, I have my virtual background here. Otherwise, you see all the mess in my room. Anyway, yes. So have I answered your questions? Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on. So let's get back to the slides. Okay, the time is running out. Okay, here's the slide. Okay, so I was saying that you can modify or delete cookies, and this is an example of how to use cookies. Now, this is called the cookie welcome PHP. Okay, so this one generates a web page. As you can see, there's a normal form here, nothing special. On the form, we ask for the color of the shirt and then a phone number. Okay, and then there's a submit button. The label of the button says "Remember Me," a very interesting name. Okay, so this is the form. This is the form. Okay, and this is the button. Now, when we run this, when you visit the website for the first time, and when we use the developer tool, remember F12, you see that I have no cookies, and this is running on my local host. Nothing, empty. Okay. Then, when I click and submit it, which program will handle the form? It's called CookieFans. CookieFans here. CookieFans PHP. Okay, so let's look at CookieFans, which is this one. CookieFans. Now, CookieFans will look and check whether the color box is selected, whether the user has entered a color. Okay, if it's empty, if it's not empty, then we set cookie with this key, and the value is from the $_get color. Okay. Now, of course, if it's empty, then it will skip this line, and then this key will not be set. Okay. Likewise, if the phone number is not empty, again we set the cookie. So remember, you must set the cookie before you write out any HTML text. Very, very important. If you put this anywhere inside or after the HTML tag, this code it will run without error, but then the cookie will not be sent. Okay. Oh, I have been turning on my camera, so let me turn it off. Okay, so now it will always output thanks for visiting our page. Now, if the phone is not empty, then you will also print out a smaller, because it's H4, right? H4 is smaller than H3. You send out this little message. We will send news to the phone and that phone number. Okay, so that's the output. That's the output. So thanks for visiting our page. There's H3 and then H4, the phone number entered by the user. Okay, and these are the values entered by the user. The color was pink. This is the phone number. And the domain is localhost because I was running this on XAMPP on my local computer. Okay. Now you can also do this a very similar thing, but using one single script. One single script. So this is example using single script instead of two files. Now, can you explain what it will do? Now, let's try to do it together. So this is just a command. Okay, it checks whether this key, okay, is set. Old customer. If it's not set, it means it's a new customer, right? So if it's new customer, the first thing we want to do is we set the cookie so that the next time the user comes back, it's not a new customer. Okay, so if it's not new customer, we immediately set it and place it in the, and then set its value to yes. So the key is old customer and the value is yes. And it will expire in how long? So your answer here. What is the expiration period of this cookie? Anyone? How long will this cookie last for? How long this cookie will last for? Based on what is shown here. 10 seconds, very good, very good. Thank you, 10 seconds, okay? This is the current time, this returns the current timestamp, and then you add 10 seconds to it. Yes, yes, very good, very good. Yeah, very good. Yes, good. So now if this is the case when it is not set. So the else part means that it is set, right? So the client comes with a cookie, so the client is returning. So we will echo, you will get a discount. Of course, in real life, we will actually set the discount variable here, and then in some calculation down below, we will apply the discount to a price. Anyway, so here just say you will get a discount. And then after that, now we'll print out the actual cookie. This is just for testing. Normally, we will not do it. We will not show the contents of the cookie to the visitor. This is just for testing. Okay. So later on, then we show a link here, a hyperlink. The hyperlink, the text is called "click me," okay, and then the target of the hyperlink is itself. Is just the same file, okay? So it always goes back to itself, okay, and then tells the customer whether they get a discount or not, okay. So I think I hope everyone is happy at this point. Now let's go from cookies to sections. Now at the beginning we talk about cookies, but so what about sections? Well, sections is a special form of cookies. Now imagine that when the client comes to the server, and if there's a cookie, it sends the cookie to gives the cookie to the server. Imagine that we have a special kind of cookie. Actually, it's a cookie with a special key. This is a special key, okay? And then the next time the client comes back, we know that, hey, you have this cookie. I know who you are, okay? So, sections allows you to maintain a set of variables are called multiple page loads for a user. Similar, you may say, well, this sounds similar to cookies, right? Well, cookies can be read, modified, and deleted by the user. It's not secure, so we don't want to use cookies unless it's really, really simple. Now for sections, there's a thing called a section ID, and the section IDs are stored in special cookies in the browser. We call them section cookies. Now, so here's the relationship. Sections are implemented using cookies. Okay, so we want to have sections, okay, but we implement or create the sections using cookies. Special form of cookie called section cookies. And well, the creation and destruction of sections is handled by a web framework or some utility. So this is good news for you. You know what? You don't have to know the actual section ID. Okay. So if you go back to slide 22, it means that you don't have to worry about this name. You don't have to actually worry about the key of the section cookie. You just need to use it. Okay. All you need to do is to use the $_section array, which is a super global array, just like $_get, $_post. Now, sections are useful. Why? Because we can use the session to identify the browser across space, across internet users. Now I'm using the S here to represent different session IDs. So assuming this is a session ID. So this is A123 from one browser. This is B345 from another browser. And this is C678 from another browser. And they all arrive at the server through the internet, which is the cloud. So on the server, we store something for this session. We store something for this session, and so on. So if there are many more browsers, we have more section storage on the server. Now remember, okay, cookies are here. Cookies are inside the browser. Okay, in which they can read, they can modify, and they can delete. But sections, variables are stored on the server. Although there's a little cookie here to tell us that, hey, this is S123. That's all it is stored on the client. Okay, everything else is on the server. Okay, so if the user presses F12 and look at the section cookie, all they see is a long string of number, which doesn't really make sense to them. And then you can use the section to persist data across time. Now we have the same browser here, same browser. And this same browser may be communicating with us using different methods. Sometimes they use polls, some web pages they use polls, some web pages using GET, and so on. But to us, if we want, we can store it in the same section. Okay, so the whole application, no matter how many web pages we have, will access the same set of username, preferences, and the shopping cart, and so on. Okay, so I want you to compare slide 24 and 25 and make sure you understand the meaning behind all this. Okay. There's a question. Why do we set the value specifically to yes in this example? Interesting question. So I think you are referring to the new customer, right? Yes, that's slide 20. You are referring to slide 20. So let's go to slide 20. It's slide 20. This one. Why do we set to yes? Now, this is a good question. Why? Because as you can see, we are just checking if this cookie exists, okay, or if the value is set, okay. So we cannot set it to nothing. Okay, if it says to nothing, then it's not set, although it's not empty. So we must set it to something. Okay, in this case, it's set to yes. But yes, it's a good question. We can set it to yes, or we can set it to old. We can set it to anything that makes sense to our program here. Okay, or I tell you what, in another example, actually, you can store a number here. How about this? You store a number, so it represents how many times the customer has come back. Okay, so if he comes back more times, they get more discount. So this may be so, or besides echoing this, we can set another variable here. Let's say it's $100 or 100% minus how many times the customer has come back. So if it has come back n times, let's say if it has come back 10 times, then they get a 90% discount. Now, if you don't understand what I mean, it's okay. All you need to know right now is that setting it to yes is a choice of the application. As long as the application understands it, It's okay. It can be yes, it can be a number, it can be old. Okay. So I hope I answer your question. So does that answer your question? Oh, thank you. Someone reminded me that is slide 20. Thank you. So does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. So I enjoy when students raise good questions like this one. Now let's get on to slide 25. Okay, you just finished this. Now here's an example, a very, very important example. Okay. To use sections, all you need to do is call section start before sending anything to the browser. So this one, session start. This does the magic. Okay, so in your code, you do this. Now imagine that this is a form. Okay. And then the form posts to itself. Okay, if you have a good memory, actually this is the form that you use. So these are, well, actually this is the reserved form. Sorry about that. This is the reserved form. Okay, and then it will be processed by validate form symbol. Okay, so these are the inputs, right? This is the first name, the store, and so on. So it's very similar to your individual assignment. Now, what this is doing here is it's trying to see if the data session array with the key F name, is it exist, or and if it exists, it's empty. So if it exists and it's not empty, then I will put this value inside F name. Okay, let me change the color. Let me use blue here. Okay, so the F name, okay, the first time when the program is run, this one is empty, right? This one is empty. And because it's empty, now this question mark is like an if statement. So this is like an if statement. So it checks that if this is empty, okay. Oh, it is set. So if this is set, then I will put this into F name. Okay, this is when it is set. However, if it is not set, meaning that it is run for the first time, just like in this case, then put this into F name. Okay, so this is the meaning of line 3. Okay, now can you do an if statement in line 3? Of course, yes, you can do an if statement, but that will be longer. That will be longer. Okay, and imagine that you have 10 variables, 10 section variables, then you have many, many lines. And this is very elegant or beautiful way of doing this, right? And even align the question marks. So I have the equivalent of 3 if statements here. And basically, I'm checking whether they exist. If they exist, meaning that the customer will process this form before it will get those values. Otherwise, it will get all the blanks. Okay. And this is the validate form. Okay. So sorry about that. So this is the validate form. Okay. So you saw it last time, right? Again, it uses the same section by calling session start. And then if this function, now, what is this? This is a object-oriented programming in PHP. We'll cover that later. So you don't have to mind this now. All you need to do is that it do some checking and see if the date is a valid date. If the $post date, that is the date from the user, it wants to check if the date, better use the link. Yes, it checks whether the date is a valid date. If it's a valid date, then it says, thanks for the registration. Okay, if not, then it will set another section variable called called with the key MSG, and set the date is invalid, and then it redirects the user back to the reserve simple sets. What is this page? Well, it's the one that we just saw in slide 26. This one. Okay. So 26 is this one. It is processed by this one, valid form simple sets, which is slide 27. But the only difference between your tutorial and this one is that it uses the section variable. Okay. In your exercise, you also redirect the user back to the previous page, but there's no such message. There's no the date is invalid. So what does it do? Still remember, the screen just flashed a little bit, and the user doesn't know what is going on. But now you have this MSG. You're telling the user the date is invalid, and you even give them back what date they have put in the first place. So if they put in the invalid date, which is out of range, or the name in the reserve simple form, they would now see the $F name, which is from the section variable. Okay, and then it's put inside of here. Now echo $date. Now $date comes from here, right? Which is from the section variable. And in this case, the name is not actually used. Now the MSG is used and is shown here at the beginning. Okay, so make sure that you understand slide 26 and 27. Very, very important. Okay, so if you can only understand one thing within this 1.5 hours, make sure you understand slide 26 and 27. Okay. Now, if you understand those two slides, this is just additional information. Okay. So in the actual implementation, in the server, there's a user key which keeps track of the section. Okay, and you can find out the session ID on the server by using PHP info. So this is the code to obtain the PHP info. Again, this is just additional information. If you don't understand it, it's okay. So if I run PHP info, I'll get this output. And actually, the important part is here. Let me zoom in for you. So there's a server path and there's a session name. Now, if you zoom in, you see that the session name is PHP sets ID, and then this is the location, okay, where it is stored. And this is an example here. Okay, so this is on a Mac. So this is the folder. Remember the folder from the last slide here? Okay, so if you, okay, now, oh, I see, on XAMPP or on my Apache server, it's stored here, right? So you go to that location, that folder, and you see, wow, I have these so many sections. And if you open one of them, so let's say if you open 5BE, so this one. So let's say if you open this one, you double click on it, 5BE C6 something, right? 5BE C6 something. You actually see all the variables inside it. Okay, everything inside it. For example, this key, context title, Okay, it's called Introduction to Programming. Okay, so profile ID, okay, and then profile display name and so on. So let's look at all the details here, but this is how it is stored. Okay, so you may want to relate this to, let's say, to slide 25. Okay, look at slide 25. I said that you can store many things about that server, that client, right? So on the client, they see a tiny little cookie here, but on the server, they can store a lot of things. And this is what you see, what you just saw on slide 30. Okay. Well, to retrieve the section variables is easy, right? Just at the beginning, you do this, and then now there's a possibility that the session may not be able to start. Okay, when will this happen? Well, if the user has disabled cookies. Session starts successfully, you just do this, right? This is very normal. This is very normal. But if it doesn't start successfully, like this one, you do what? You die. You die. Basically, you tell the PHP processor that, hey, I cannot proceed because this is the message to the PHP script. So somewhere in your program, you should catch this error and display a message to the user nicely. Sorry, I can. Please accept your cookies. So it says here, you can store many pieces of information in the section. For example, user details, products they have in the shopping cart, and so on. Just the syntax of how to use session start. As you can see, you don't need to provide anything, and then it returns a Boolean, true or false. Okay. And if you look at other people's code, you may see that there are other ways to do it, but session start is the most common way. Now, it is rare, it's very rare or uncommon for session start to fail, okay, which is to return false. Or only happens when the user disabled cookies in the browser. Okay, so you have to, in that case, you have no alternative other than to ask the user to re-enable cookies. Okay, or you can write a version that uses the GET request, but GET is not so nice. It's very dangerous. Now, when the user re-enable the cookies, it may still fail. Okay, in that case, you may suggest the user, hey, you may reload the browser or even reboot the computer or use a different browser. So here's some codes for using session variables. Okay. Now notice that session start is at the very beginning, and in this case, I'm storing. I'm checking if the section, the $_session has a key called pizza. Okay, is it set? Okay, and if it's not set, then I will set it to 0. Okay, if it is set and it is smaller than 3, I will add 1 to it. Okay. Now, at the end, I want to destroy it and start again. Okay, when it reaches 3. So this is the PHP part. This is the logic. And this is the presentation. This is the presentation. This is the view. Okay, so it says click me. Now let me show you the page. It makes it easier, right? Than just this talking. So this is the page. So there's only one link here called click me. At the beginning, it says session is empty, and it tells you the actual session ID. Well, again, to the user, this is meaningless. Okay, but this is for testing. And the value of this key in $session is 0. Okay, so what happens? We click it. Now this is the beginning, right? So I click it for the first time. This session variable is now 1. I click it again, it's 2. I click it again, it's 3. Now when it reaches 3, it will, if I click it again, it will destroy the cookie and says session restarted, right? Okay, so then you can understand this by referring back to slide 34. Okay, so I strongly suggest you try to understand this slide and compare with the output on slide 36, okay, to understand it deeply. And this tells you how to use session destroy. Again, you don't need to pass in anything, and it returns a Boolean. The last thing is very simple, just header. You used it last week. Okay, so the header function, it sends a raw HTTP header. Okay, and if you do not do anything special, it will be just a normal HTML web page to the user. But you can also use it to redirect the user to another page by setting the URL. Okay, again, it must be called before any actual output is sent. This is an example. Inside the PHP, I call header function, and then I pass on this key value pair, location, this one. So you redirect the browser to this location. And this is the correct use. And this is incorrect. Why? Because after you send out the HTML, the browser will ignore the header, and this will not work. So be very, very careful. Okay, so what have we covered today? We learned about cookies, sessions, and header. Okay. I understand that it's 7 minutes past your lesson time. Okay, let's see if any questions. Session ID will be different when we start. And yes, very good question, because as you can see from slide what? From slide 36. You can see it from slide 36. This slide 36. Yes. So if you go to slide 36, actually you can see that the ID is different. Actually, I think I better run this. You see at the beginning is this ID, right? APPEH something. And then at the end, wow, why it is the same? 5 p.m. B6. It seems like the same, but it should have destroyed it. 4H5. In this case, it's the same. Interesting. So it should destroy it and it should restart it. But in this case, it doesn't really restart it. Okay, very good question. In this case, it is the same, but it should not be. It should not be. Okay. Check again. Check again. Maybe I did not create the slides correctly. Okay, you can try again. Now it can be again. I think the answer is it may be dependent on PHP server. For example, maybe something that you can specify in PHP i9. When the session is destroyed and recreated, do you want to use the same ID? Okay, so cookie must be work with for sessions to function correctly. Yes, absolutely correct. And this is 100% correct. This is a yes, for sure. So are there any other questions? If not, then try to find your group members, okay? And I hope to receive your names next week. Okay, so bye for now and stay healthy. So just like what I said before, okay, you can turn on the camera at the beginning and at the end. Okay, you don't have to keep it on all the way. Very good, thank you, and bye-bye.